So, welcome everyone. And today I'd like to start our presentation out with a hypothetical question. What would it be like if you could own your life? And that might look differently for people, but there's a couple principles that have to be in place. And that would be, financial freedom. Because most people, if you were to subtract their working time, their sleeping time, their traveling to work time, their eating time and getting ready for work time, if you subtracted all of that, how many hours a day would people have to do what they wanted to do? And for most people, it's about 1 or 2 hours a night. And most people, would you agree, are exhausted with that 1 or 2 hours a night? So, what do with that freedom time that they have at the end of the day? They usually sit on the couch and just kind of like recoup from the day just to do it all again tomorrow. So, what if you could own your life? What if all of that time that we just subtracted, we could get rid of that to where day in and day out, you could do what you wanted to do? I mean, is that even possible? But let's take the possibility out of it. What would you do if you could own your life and have the freedom to do what you wanted to do day in, day out, day after day? And Lenny, that's how we've been living our lives. For me,
22,
what's
yeah,
that?
22 years. I always see that hamster wheel. And instead of a hamster on there, I see a person. They're just on a hamster wheel. And they think if they quit their job and go get another job, well, they just changed their hamster wheel. Like it's still not owning your life. And so we want to talk about that today because there's so much life to live. And we want to help people live that life more individually. And there's a way. We've been doing it for a combined 22 years between you and me and other people on this Zoom and so many people in our company. And that is one of the most important questions. And people are suffering. And that hamster wheel to me represents suffering because that person doesn't have time with their kids. That person doesn't have time to work out. That person doesn't have time for their hobbies. That person doesn't really have time to go ride their bicycle. That person that's on that hamster wheel is not free. And that to me is something that we want to spend the rest of our lives telling people there's a way. There's an actual way. And we found it. Follow us.
Yeah. And we
So
can duplicate it, right? And that's what's happened. You learned it from Jimmy Smith and others
mhm.
that taught you how to achieve this life of freedom. You taught me, right? Connie, I mean, type in the chat box who taught you. This is about being able to get some information where we could follow some specific steps, concrete steps that lead to that life of freedom. And the biggest part was we listened, right? We were ready and we listened and we followed the steps. And so we want to let's go down this journey, and how that began. It starts with, and let me just put up the disclaimer there.
Bonnie Perkins.
Make sure Bonnie Perkins for Connie Norleen, right?
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Bonnie very well, Bonnie and Paul.
And
Uh,
I was gonna ask Bob, who taught you? And he just wrote Connie Norleen. That's awesome.
that's awesome. Yeah, right. So Jim and Kathy Coover and John Anderson, they're the ones that had this vision to impact world health and free people from physical and financial pain. And in the process, create the largest health and wellness company in the world. And this was really Kathy's goal, was to create more financial freedom than any other company ever has in the history of business. And in that process, create more 6 and 7 figure income earners. And how many people I was in this category previous to connecting to the vision of Isagenix. I was working my life away and I was losing my health while I was doing it. At 36 years old, my health was so deteriorated. And even though I was working anywhere from 14 to 16 hours a day, raising 5 kids, having a paper out in the morning, all of the things, and I wasn't any closer to my goal of creating that freedom after 15 years of being a mechanic and doing the other things that I was doing, my plan B, C, D. How many people had a plan D and a plan E and a plan F on top of your A, B, and C? And I was able to balance my life out. I got my health back, and that was my number one wealth, was my health. But I very quickly learned from Isagenix that wealth is a part of that equation. It's a part of balancing out life. And that's what Isagenix means, is balanced life. And so what I learned is that health and wealth are both integrated together. And to have a full life on the highest levels, they have to be integrated. They're both essential. You can't have one without the other to literally live a full and complete life. And so we were all introduced. All of us that are in Isagenix were introduced by somebody. And Lenny, I know that you've known Rhonda longer than I have, and that you know her story very well and about John Gray. Why don't you just share real quickly this whole, like, we share with people some information that they didn't know, and
For
then
sure.
there's an option there, right? Then there's a choice.
Yeah, I just want to honor John Gray. This book that he wrote 22 years ago, The Mars and Venus Diet and Exercise Solution, this book changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my life because he found Isagenix just before I did. I went to a meeting in LA and he was speaking, and I got his book that day and he signed it, and I couldn't put this book down. And this book tells the story of John Gray, where how he went to Mexico and he had got intravenous amino acid supplementation, and it fixed his allergies in Mexico because the procedure wasn't allowed in the United States. So he found it, he had the money, he flew down there, he did it, he came back. It lasted, I don't remember exactly how long. It says in the book, it's been a minute since I read it, but it lasted for a couple months. And then all of a sudden, he was introduced to Isagenix. And his wife, Bonnie Gray, noticed that he was getting ornery again and sneezing. And he says, "Hey, John, maybe it's time for you to go back to Mexico and get that intravenous thing that you did." He goes, and then right then, Isagenix came and he did the 11-day reset. Back then, it was called a 9-day cleanse. And it changed his life forever. And he didn't have to fly to Mexico. He didn't have to go spend all the money and get needles put in his arm from a Mexican doctor and anything. The 9-day cleanse did what that had done for him. And so he got jacked out of his mind, started telling people, some of our dear friends that we have today, one of our very best friends, Rhonda, and said, "Hey, Rhonda, I found something that's going to help you with your health so much. If you love it, if you don't love it, I'll show you how to get your money back. If you love it, I'll show you how to start building retirement income." And Rhonda's like, "Okay, I'm in." And that was Rhonda 22, 23 years ago. And she's brought in so many people. So you never know who's going to bring you in. But John Gray had so much credibility. I mean, he does have so much credibility, and he's gone on to completely, revolutionize his own financial life. And he still takes Isagenix today, 20, 22, 23 years later. And Dave, I mean, this is a really important thing to be bringing back, this story.
It really adds credibility, Letty, and that was well said. And we went to LA, I don't know, a few months back, and he was at the meeting, right? And you know John, and he recognizes us. He knows who we are. He's been in the top income earners in the top 50 since I've been in Isagenix, 20 years. And he's made more money in Isagenix than all of his books combined. And he's just like a month or two ago, he was in the top 10 income earners of Isagenix.
Wow.
So because of who he is and how he understands about relationships and nutrition and how important that is, he's such a huge credibility factor for Isagenix. And Rhonda, because she said yes, she didn't only make a retirement, she made a life altering Freedom Day, decision. She's almost at $10 million now. I just saw her post her check that she got at celebration over $9 million she's earned in Isagenix now. So the Freedom Day pack, there's some qualifying steps that we need to do. Just like in anything, you got to qualify to have a job, right? You show up, you clock in at a certain time. If you don't, you're disqualified, right? And they'll fire you. So there's qualifying steps in everything. There's only 5 qualifying steps in Isagenix with the Freedom Day pack. And we're going to talk more about this as we go through it. But just write down 100 QV. That 100 QV is your Freedom Day right there. And we learned that from Jimmy Smith. And this is your working man's pack, right? We need more protein. If we're not eating enough protein, we're eating too much of everything else. Like, I love when you said that because it's so true. But protein is so important to our health. But the 100 QV, Jimmy Smith, who's going to be 98 next month, has been in Isagenix since he was 72. Him and his family have earned over $100 million in Isagenix. And what does he say his favorite product is?
100 QE.
100 QV. Why? Because that leads to everything else. If you have the freedom physically and financially, you could do anything you want with that. And it's 100 QV that is one of those qualifying steps. So QV is converted into business volume, which is converted into money. So we'll talk more about that as we go through this. But look, before Isagenix, the pain, the suffering, the frustration, that was the house we lived in with 5 kids and a foster daughter that had special needs. There was 8 of us in a 1,300 square foot home with 3 bedrooms. Lenny, you came over when this window was shattered. It completely shattered. Luckily, it stayed in there because I couldn't afford the $600 to replace it. I had a paper out. I was delivering newspapers every morning. I'd fix all cars all day long as a mechanic, and then I'd come home at night and fix cars, and I was still struggling. And I had my plan B's and C's that I was working on, and my wife was, raising the kids, and she still had a plan B and a plan C going on as well. We're juggling things. She's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Do I look happy here? At 36 years old, I don't look happy. This is when Isagenix showed up. And it's not magic, it's not a quick fix, but if you do the right steps, it could lead to your dream life. Absolutely. We've done it again and again. We've duplicated it. I know what it's like to eat at the top of the Eiffel Tower in a fine dining restaurant. I know what it's like to take my family to Disneyland, not stay in some cheap hotel like we used to, or I used to sleep at my parents' house because they lived in Anaheim. We'd drive there and we'd sleep on the floor and, not get a hotel because we couldn't afford to do both. This picture right here, I got 4 hotel rooms at the Disneyland Hotel. We ate at the Disneyland restaurant where they have the characters come and they visit your table and you don't have to fight the crowds for them. And then we went to Disneyland for like 4 or 5 days. Like that was the dream vacation of my life, which I would have never been able to do. I couldn't afford that. We live in our dream home. We take dream vacations. We take, everything has changed so profoundly, and the impact that we've been able to make in doing all of that. We live a dream life now. We get to do what we want, when we want, for as long as we want. We own our lives. So what changed from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now? And that's what we're going to go through. Right. But I remember Renata Lee, Lenny, this was such a cool story. There's so many cool stories that committed me in the beginning that I heard and that I became aware of. I was at one of my first events. It was Renata Lee. And I overheard her talking to a group of people. And she said, it's the craziest thing. We go on vacation. We have the most amazing vacations. We spend all this money and we come home and in our bank account is more money than we spent when we went on the vacation. That's passive residual income, you guys, with leverage. And that got my attention because I wasn't in that space yet. I was just learning about it. And to hear Don Nooner's story, where he decided rather than making his last house payment, he joined Isagenix and bought 2 systems for him and his wife. And his wife had serious health issues, and all of a sudden she didn't have those anymore. He made the decision to buy those 2 systems, then make his last house payment. And Lenny, what did he end up doing? Buying 9 homes right here in St. George where I live, 7 of them paid for cash, coming from that place of destitution. So these were the stories that convicted me, that made me realize, I already knew from my own personal results with the products that I was a product user for life. But to hear these stories of financial freedom and the quality of life that brought to these people and their families, I became committed.
Yeah, you sure did, man. I watched it all happen. And I just want to say, too, that, surviving and suffering is very different than thriving and living your best life. Because I watched on those 2 screens, I just watched you going from you're barely surviving, paying Peter to pay Paul, you're suffering. And then this happens to you. And in a short time, you start to go from surviving to thriving, and really your suffering's ending. And that's what Isagenix is all about, you guys. I found one of these boxes that's a Freedom Day box. If you see this, it's just a box with Freedom Day, right? It's just a Freedom Day box. And what I was learning every time Jack Canfield would talk, or John Gray, or Jack Canfield, or Don Nooner, or Jimmy Smith, Jim and Kathy Coover, I just kept thinking, what? I could do that. I could totally do that. And so I did. And you can too. And that's what we want to really teach you today. That this is not just, we're not just blowing smoke. Dave and I wouldn't just get up and get on a Zoom at 7:30 in the morning, at least in California, to just, have some crazy idea out there. No, this is not on trial. The products are not on trial. The way we all earn money is not on trial. We have a responsibility to show this message to the masses, to anyone that's suffering. Because, by the way, not all suffering is equal. Some suffering we can see. Some suffering we can see, but most suffering we can't see in other people because most suffering is financial. It's mental, it's emotional, it's financial suffering. If someone's struggling physically, we can see that. That's just one form of it. And we're here to end suffering. Did you read our vision? To free people from pain. That's ending suffering. And so, Dave, man, we have a big job ahead of us here. And we're just committed to it to keep giving this message over and over and over.
Absolutely. I did a meeting that we're coming full circle. Tammy Hess, we did a meeting at her house last night. It was so fun, and sharing these stories and just to help a new generation of people. It's like Isagenix 2.0. They just announced yesterday our 450th millionaire. I don't know if you guys saw that on Facebook. 450 millionaires now from all the types of backgrounds like mine. And Lenny, you were a business owner, and Malcolm was an engineer. Jojo did blackjack at Las Vegas. Jojo's right there at the top, 2.7 million. And she owned tanning salons and was struggling. And look at us now, right? So Jimmy Smith is the one that taught me the power of compounding. And these are one of the steps that we take, these concrete steps that I'm going to show you here in just a minute, is what leads to this, to get this result, because this is the result that we're looking for, right? The life, the freedom of, being able to do what you want when you want, the freedom lifestyle. And so again, everybody has their own version of what that looks like for you, but you can't have your own version of how you're going to get there. You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the principles, right, Lenny?
Yeah, I want to jump in just for a second because I want to jump into this quadrant a little bit because I was on the left side of the quadrant. Were you on
Yeah,
the left
totally.
side? Most people are either an employee or they have they're self-employed, right? So I was looking at this, reading the book, going, I don't know how to get over there. I just don't know how to get over there necessarily. John Gray came on the scene and told me that the products are the best in the world. Jack Canfield came on the scene and told me that the products were the best in the world. So I put the products in my body and I felt like, well, these are the best in the world. I lost 13 pounds, about 6 inches around my waist, and my headaches went away. But I was enrolling people, Dave. I was really, excited about what I had because I knew that product speaking, it could change someone's life. So I wasn't afraid to call anybody. And I called one of the most influential men I knew, Doug Hyam. And he was a very powerful attorney in Southern California, Orange County area. And I had put him on it, and he and his wife had tremendous results. And I thought, my job is done here. They each lost 15 pounds, like 30 pounds between them. And one day I was thinking, how do I get on that other side of the quadrant? And I called up Doug and I said, hey, Doug, I'm pretty good with all this legal stuff. I think I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to become an attorney. And there was this silence on the phone, complete silence, because he had already completely told me. I have another story about the product, but he said, Lenny, you don't understand what you have. You don't understand the gift that you have found, my brother. I'm like, I don't. He goes, no, obviously, if you want to become an attorney, you don't understand anything about what you just found. I'm like, okay. He goes, tell you what, let's come down to Mission Viejo, buy my lunch, and I'll explain to you what you have. And that's what happened, you guys. I went down. He explained to me what Dave's about to explain. So the one thing, I'm getting goosebumps. The one thing I want you to do is pay attention to what Dave's about to teach, right? Because I had to hear it a few times. I don't think anyone just automatically gets it. I mean, I'm looking for that person all day today, the person that gets it. But it's okay to tell a few stories here and there. And Doug Heim sat me down, showed me how the power of two worked inside our compensation plan, and that if I was diligent and just kept sharing, that within a couple of years, I'd be making more than him. You guys, he was making over $300,000. I had never even made over 50, ever. $1,000 a year. And you guys, I just want to say this. When he gave me that lecture, I drove home in kind of shock and awe. I was glad there was traffic because it took me like 3 hours. I just couldn't stop thinking about what he had just taught me about this concept of would I rather have, a penny doubled, or would I rather have, just, the $1 million thing that you're going to learn. But because I didn't know the answer to that. And so I got it. He got me to understand that if I kept plugging people into the to the engine that makes money in Isogenics, we call it the compensation plan, that it was going to work. And you guys, within 2 years of that, I went home that night, never did sleep, couldn't sleep, was laying there. At one point, I thought, oh no, I'm drowning. But it was because my ears had become completely full of my own tears because I knew I was going to become a millionaire. I knew I had found the thing that I've been looking for my entire adult life. I would just turn 40. I'm 62 now. That was 22 years ago. And 2 years later, I was making as much as Doug Hyam. Now, I don't say that to impress you. I say it to impress upon you that if I could do it, someone else can do it. Someone that doesn't know about Isogenics could do it. Dave, is
Yeah.
that goosebump worthy? I
Oh my
mean, come
gosh.
on.
That was one of the stories that really convicted me. I mean, I hold an attorney as a, pretty intelligent, astute
Yeah,
person that,
yeah.
you know, and for him to say that, it really did. It was one of the stories that convicted me, along with another fun one about Knott's Berry Farm, but I'll tell that one later. So yeah, Jimmy Smith. I did this last night. I did the whole penny doubled thing, and there was a young lady there with her baby, and probably early 20s. And I said, "Have you ever heard of the penny double?" Probably everybody's heard it. And she's like, "No, I've never heard it." I'm like, "Yo, this is gonna be awesome, right?" And I said, "Well," Jimmy said, "Hey, would you rather have $1 million in a briefcase?" And this is what I said to her: "No strings attached. You can do whatever you want with it. Or would you rather have a penny and I double it every day for 30 days?" And she says, "Well, I would probably pick the $1 million, but something's up, right? So like I'll pick the penny, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't know. I picked the $1 million because I didn't even know what a penny being compounded meant, right?" And I'll give you a little bit of a hint. Einstein said compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. So there's that word compounding, right? He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And so even though I knew like this young lady, something was up, I still didn't know what a penny compounding meant. So I didn't feel dumb for saying, I'll take the $1 million. I mean, it's still $1 million, even if I lose out, that's $1 million. And because I didn't understand, I did lose out. And that was the problem here. I didn't understand how to get over here. And so I kept losing out on life. I've been both. I've owned a business and I was an employee, and neither of those moved me any closer to my freedom day. So the penny doubled is a simple mathematical formula. All you're going to do is just keep hitting times two. So 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. But that whole strangeness to that wonder that Einstein's talking about, it really shows up the longer you stretch this out. So let's say this is days. In 10 days, we're at 512 pennies. So I was feeling pretty good that I picked $1 million briefcase because that's only $5.12. Even at day 20, it was only $5,000. That's a pretty big jump though from a penny, right? Turning into $5,000. That's kind of cool, but I still didn't understand the enormity of it. Not even at day 25, $167,000 that penny turned into. Just times two, right? 32, 64, 128. But at day 30, it was $5.3 million. And even though I still didn't understand the power of that, I didn't understand that until I started reading Robert Kiyosaki. But at that point, I had already replaced my income as a mechanic with Isogenics and this compounding effect. Do you guys hear that? I replaced my income before I understood the principle of it. I understood this enough to get into work because there was dollar values associated with this in the Isogenics compensation plan that I'm going to show you. And I'm semi-intelligent. I was born at night, but not last night, right? I've been around the block a few times. And I understood enough of this formula and our compensation plan, which I'm going to show you in just a second here, and then we'll breathe that out over the remainder of it, and we'll really close it hard that I think you'll get it. But I understood it enough to get into action. So what Jimmy said is you just need to order your qualified volume. That's 100. 100 in qualified volume will allow you to start benefiting this compounding effect with your income. So you can turn your QV, what you're eating into cash. And we can compound it if you follow a couple of other steps. Share with two people. Once you share with two people a qualified volume, they order it, which is very easy to do in Isagenix. It's a very minimal amount of product. Then you can start getting paid a percentage of every product that's sold to everybody that gets introduced to Isagenix in your organization. So your efforts compounded by the efforts of people on your team, and you can get paid on all of that. So I just saw how the effort of the compounding two could like generate a lot of, like turn this into people, 5 million people in 30 days. And what I learned was right around here is where I would get my freedom day. I didn't have to get into these incomprehensible numbers. I just needed to get into this area. So I knew with a little bit of effort on my part in doing some exact steps of sharing, right? Inviting, sharing, following up, I could get into these areas in a short amount of time. And in 15 years of being a mechanic, I wasn't any closer to being in this area. So now I was making the equations from the stories, Renata Lee, John Gray, what happened for Don Nooner, and understanding this power of two, this compounding effect. I was like you, Lenny, I couldn't sleep for 3 nights. I didn't have time to cry in my ears because I was up pacing around in the middle of the night. Seriously, because I started to get it. And we think we get it, but until you have a sleepless night and you start talking to everybody about it and making a fool of yourself because you're like a fire hydrant, you don't really get it. And then we just refine ourselves and we turn the fire hydrant down and we learn how to do this the right way, right? Where people listen. So where we actually get the compounding effect is where we partner up with people who see it like we do, which is not an impossible act. All of us on here have probably seen it in one form or fashion or another, and we're committed in one level or another. Connie, you've been doing this for 22 years, longer than any of us on here. So once this compounding effect starts to happen, we start to mimic the power of two. Because remember, it's only me sharing with two people that gets me into income mode. I start earning, but not just on my own efforts, on other people's efforts. So we're perfectly manifesting the power of two at the most minimal. The lowest common denominator is I share with two people. If those two people agree with me, then they share with two people. And if those 4 people agree with us 3, then they share with 2 people. It really is that simple. And we can simplify this by helping people to get it much quicker. That's why we have this recording. Right? So do you see a similarity here? Now we're going to compound that into cash and help people to get healthy, create the healthiest people on the planet and the wealthiest people on the planet. And the more people you and your team help, the bigger the income. And it calculates it daily and it pays weekly. We love Mondays. Mondays don't suck in Isagenix because that's our payday. Every single Monday. We turn the worst day of the week for the average, person who has a job into the best day of the week. It's just it's amazing, right? And we're not under trial anymore, Lenny. So we're going to go into some of the semantics of how this does it, and I'm going to unfold and we're going to breathe into you how we do the steps, but how those steps translate into your Freedom Day.
Yeah, dude, that was so excellent. That was such a great explanation. And I want to share one other quick story because it had a lot to do with why I got so involved. And that was that John Gray had me at Hello. I was on these products every single day for 22 years, really because of John and his book. But when he introduced me to Jack Canfield and he introduced Jack Canfield to Isagenix, Jack had a tremendous 30-day experience. Jack Canfield, he lost all this weight, his craving for alcohol went down. He tells the whole story. He got so excited that he wrote a book called Chicken Soup for the Healthy Soul. And I was like, is this really happening? How did I find this thing? And then he said something. He goes, and don't forget, selling Isagenix is pretty cool. It's like selling $20 bills for $5 each. Everybody wants it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, everybody wants it. Everybody wants it because I was guaranteed, I was already under the impression that if you would give Isagenix a try, you will see how it makes you a better version of yourself. It makes you a healthier version of yourself, and a healthier version of yourself is a better version of yourself. Now, who benefits from the better version of you? Everybody in your world. your spouse, your significant other, your kids, your grandkids, your parents, your aunts, your uncles, everyone. Not to mention, if you see this like me and Dave and Connie and Bob, you're going to want to go share it because it's like sharing a $20 bill for $5. Everybody wants one. And that's what Jack got through to me. He got through that by everybody was going to want it. So I went into every conversation thinking if this person says no, huh, they did me a favor because I want to work with people that are excited as I am about this. And so that's how this thing started to evolve for me. And I kept sharing it and I got addicted to the transformations. Every single week, people that I had shared Isogenics with were changing their lives. And every once in a while, they wanted to peel back the curtain to see if what is back there, like the Wizard of Oz idea, and see like maybe I do want retirement income because if I don't get retirement income, I might not be able to retire. And why wouldn't you want to retire now? I mean, why wouldn't you want to? You got to start preparing for this. And so, Dave, I am just so thrilled that we're back and teaching this because it's just really so simple. I think I've complicated over the years, but I think really at the end of the day, it's just so beautiful. It's so simple to share
Yeah.
Isogenics, you know?
It's so funny because before I was even 50 years old, people would say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm kind of retired." I didn't really know how to answer the question all the time. Like they catch you off guard. I'm like, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of retired. I just do what I want when I want. But I was always doing Isogenics, like doing Zooms and answering phone calls and sharing. But being retired before your 50s, pretty amazing.
Oh
What it
man.
means is you're doing what you want to do, right? That's what retirement was. And I didn't have to suffer, financially. So while you were talking, I want you to understand this and you need to write it down because you don't want to forget it. Please hear me on this. You are not under trial. Isogenics products and compensation plan are not under trial. The person you share it with, their belief is under trial. That's all it is. We already know it works. And what I'm going to show you right now, every single person could do, and they want the results of doing it. It's their belief that's going to hold them back. That's the only thing that's going to hold them back because what I'm about to show you, every single person can do. So let's decide where your freedom day is. Again, that's relative to the person on what that means. But a freedom day usually is like you can do what you want when you want for as long as you want, meaning you don't have to go into a job because you can do what you want whenever you want and you don't suffer any financial repercussions, right? So we call it a cycle. When do you like to cycle, Annie? This is so fun.
I cycle by day and I cycle by night. Cycling is my favorite.
I cycle all day long. I cycle in my sleep. I cycle while I'm on the beach. While we were at Disneyland, we were totally cycling, right? So a cycle is our commission. It's a definition of our commission. It's a word that we use. So when you get 900 in total team volume, qualified volume or business volume, we'll convert it into business volume here. It pays you $54. So it's a very easy equation to figure out for yourself. If you're cycling 5 times a week, a cycle pays $54. So again, that's 900 in total group volume, not just your volume, the entire group is $54. So we go 5 cycles times 54, that's $270 a week. That's pretty simple math. It doesn't change. That's like an immutable law in Isogenics. We all know it, what a cycle pays. So that's $1,200 a month, $14,000 a year. How many people could use an extra $1,200 a month? For me, that was twice the amount I was getting paid on my paper route. So it took me about 2.5 hours every single day, 7 days a week, every day of the year, even Christmas, to get $600 a month. So this was twice that. And for Uber, I Googled it and I asked ChatGPT and I found out that about 3 to 4 hours a day, 7 days a week as an Uber driver would give you about $1,200 a month.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
So if you had a job, then you quit you go home and then you start your second job, your side gig, right? And a lot of people do Uber part-time. So they're making about $1,200 a month. 7 days a week though, right? You'd have to live in a bigger city where you'd be able to fill in that time. 10 cycles a week. So 10 times 54, $540 a week. This was my first goal in Isogenics. I set this as my goal. You got to have a goal. Otherwise, you're just kind of going around aimlessly, right? 540 a week, that was $2,300 a month. Right around there would replace my income as a mechanic. So what occupations would you replace at 10 cycles a week? Customer service, administrative assistant, retail sales, working at the mall, whatever, food service, childcare, blue collar apprentice, like you're helping the owner of the business, the electrician, you're his helper, medical assistant, home health, going into people's homes and helping them where they need that assistance, a teacher's assistant. So that's not quite a mechanic. Right around 30,000 is a mechanic. So in between 10 and 20 cycles, I actually replaced my income and started doing Isagenix full time at 12 cycles a week. I was right at 12 cycles a week.
Wow.
20 cycles a week, though. I mean, we're getting up there now. Registered nurse, people have gone to school, some real specific training, x-ray technician, IT support specialist, web developer, financial advisor, school teacher, human resources, college professor, electrician. So, 20 cycles a week. I hit that 20 cycles a week in Isagenix. My personal was probably in less than, well, it was for sure in less than 13 months, because in 13 months, I doubled that. I was hitting 40 cycles a week in 13 months. That's a six-figure income. I was at $2,000 a week at 40 cycles.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing? Like a six-figure income. I had never made that. We had moved into our dream home at that point, and driving the cars we wanted to drive. So these were my stepping stones. These were my stepping goals. But it's very easy to figure out if you just keep going on. You can see the higher incomes here, which we've hit and surpassed. I've surpassed that. 702,000 a year. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I've made more than that. So I think the biggest cycles I've gotten pre-COVID and just really rocking and getting out there, I was at about 400 cycles a week. 400 cycles a week. So the possibilities, you guys, when and how much would you like to cycle? Cycling every day is awesome. Cycling while you're asleep is the best. Waking
Next
up,
level.
you made more money than you made in your job. It's pretty awesome. Right.
Yeah, hey, I want to say something real quick about the two slides back.
Okay,
just for a second.
Yeah.
Just two slides back. By the way, dude, good job, man. I am loving these new slides. Loving this one right here, because I want every single person I've ever met to figure out what their Freedom Day is. Connie and Bob, I want you to figure it out. I want everyone to figure it out. And anyone you ever bring here, Dave and I are willing to help people see what their Freedom Day is and what it converts to in cycles. So my Freedom Day, when I first got started, I needed 3 cycles a day, because that's 20 cycles a week. And with 20 cycles a week, 21 cycles a week, I could quit my job. And that's what I did. It took me about a year to get to 3 cycles a day back in the day when I was still working full time, running all these restaurants, right? But I want to say something right here, Dave. This is huge. 2 weeks ago today, I listened to a podcast, which caused me to call Dave MacArthur screaming at the top of my lungs. And I want to just kind of convey what I was feeling right then, because I never want to forget what I was feeling. I was watching Tony Robbins on a podcast, and he was asked the question, what's the most important conversation we can be having today? And he said, what's coming, no one's ready for. And the podcaster said, what do you mean? What's coming and what are we, no one's ready for? He goes, no one's ready for what's coming as far as the human displacement that's coming. It's already happening. So every job on here, I was trying to listen because I can't quite read them on my phone, but every job on here is suspect. Every single job on there is suspect. I've had 37 jobs in my life. My last one was Isagenix 22 years ago. I've never had another job, but all of my other jobs can be replaced, from shoveling snow to tutoring people, ESL, to teaching high school Spanish, all of it, to selling real estate, you guys. I mean, literally, like, there is not a lot that's safe. So when Dave and I used to do this 20 years ago, 19 years ago, 18 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, everybody was just, well, I like my job, but I would pick that one and then I'll get my Freedom Day. You guys, it's not like that anymore. There is a coming displacement that's going to cause a lot of human suffering. And so we have our work cut out for us right now to not only achieve our own Freedom Day so we can end our own suffering, especially financial and physical, but to get out there with the word and help more and more people access their own Freedom Day, Dave.
Yeah, it's amazing. And Tony mentioned truck drivers at the meeting last night. I mentioned this, right? And people were agreeing, and some were saying there's already layoffs happening. There was one where At one lady's place of employment, 60 people have already been laid off because they've been replaced by AI. I can't even remember what it was. I should have made the point to remember. But this other lady, her brother is a truck driver, and she says, I can't comprehend that. She didn't say it like that, but she says, they're not going to lose their jobs. I'm like, there are more driverless cars in Phoenix than there are Uber drivers. We saw them when we were there for Celebration. These cars driving around, and one of the a lady that was at Celebration said, "Yeah, I saw one on the freeway. There was a driverless car on the freeway in Phoenix." So I think a lot of people are going to be, unsuspected of what's happening. But Tony says 8 million truck drivers between now and the next 3 to 4 years. And so, how can we bulletproof ourselves for this, right? And face to face, belly to belly marketing is the most powerful. And that is what Isagenix is committed to, allowing us to be that marketing and to share and create, again, more physical and financial freedom. And this is how they chose to do it. So let's go through the 5 steps. Super simple. We're just going to speed this up now and go through it. And then I'm really hoping to nail it at the end. If you pay attention here, that's the way my mind works. It builds, 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 and boom, you see the bigger picture right at the end. So you log into your own website with your username and password, and you become a customer of Isagenix, and you go in and you order your products. So in order to work this top down, to do this business, you want to make sure you become an associate and get your qualified QV, your qualified volume. And so to become an associate, every customer gets a free account and they get the products at the wholesale price. I love our company, right? And they allow that for everybody at no cost. But to do the business, it's $29 a year. So you just find the link in your own website, you click on it and say, I want to become an associate, and you put it in the cart. I can't show you that here because I'm already an associate and it disappears after that. But it's in your back office when you become a customer. And then you want to make sure you order the products. I don't know what your favorite QV is, but I know you're going to find something that you love. So let's just go with Lenny's, the everyday working man's pack, right? Let's get that protein in our bodies, high quality protein with all the amino acids. So our clear protein is rocking it. And it's like a Gatorade, but we turn it into a protein with the amino acids and the hydration. So let's just get one bag. And you put 2 scoops and you're getting 20 grams of protein in your hydration. And that is 24 QV or BV, same thing. All right, then we add it to the cart. And that's only, that's not 100 QV, right? So we're going to continue shopping and we're going to go up to weight management and we're going to get the high performance protein shake, 36 grams of undenatured organic whey protein. It's a meal replacement, right? 2 canisters will give you a shake a day for the month. So you're going to replace breakfast, change your breakfast, change your life in more ways than you know. And that's 38 per canister. So when we add the 2 canisters to the cart, look, we're at exactly 100 QV. Who could do that? Who could qualify themselves to become financially free? Anybody that knows how to click their mouse and do what I just showed you. There's no special skills to it. This is going to do the work for you right here. This is putting your money to work for you. This is putting your breakfast to work for you. This is putting your intelligence to work for you. This is intellectual, capital right here, you guys, because anybody can do that. What's going to hold them back? Nothing but their belief. That's why I said you're not under trial. The product's not under trial. The compensation plan's not under trial. Who's under trial? The person's belief that you share this with, because anybody can do that. All right, then you click the little box at the bottom, says, yep, I got my order right. I placed the order, boom, order confirmation. And now you're just gonna eat it. I love these pictures. You're eating your overhead. You're doing your snacks in between your meals. You're doing your hydration. You're doing your protein. You're doing your meal. You're doing your, what is the adaptogen elixir to help your brain, right? We have all kinds of amazing products. How many of us love sharing Isagenix with people who are on Isagenix? Like we do it together when we go to the events, right? So now the QV is going to be turned into BV. It's converted into BV. And you see left sales team, right sales team. Well, you created that BV through your own order. You're going to get paid on your own products, just like when you go to Costco and you pay the $100 membership, right? They pay you 3%. We pay you way more than 3%, and not just on your own orders. What if you got everybody's orders that went to Costco, right? I remember somebody, it was somebody I think you knew, Lenny. Maybe you told a story where somebody just got it. They understood network marketing. They understood the power of our products. They got in them, and they emailed all their friends and said, "It's called Isagenix. I told you first."
Oh, that was Doug
Get back to
Hyam.
you. Was it
That's
Doug Hyam?
Doug Hyam, yeah.
That's so amazing, right? Like, it's going to take me time to get back to you, but I want you to know I told you first, right?
That's so smart.
So okay, that QV is converted into BV, which is converted into a cycle. Remember, 900. Okay, so let's complete steps 3 and 4 to start compounding that QV into cash. So these are those concrete steps that we must do. It's not just us. We've got to help 2 other people understand. So let's enroll the first person on the left team. So you go in, you pick out their products, their QV, and we don't judge QV, right? Whatever their QV is, it might be the home cleaning items without any toxins in them. And then we're going to put in their personal information. We're going to enroll them as a customer. And then now they're a customer on your left team, and they have the qualified volume. You need that for you and 2 other people. Well, where does that second person go? On the right team. And so we're going to go in, and that QV from that person we just enrolled. So this person right here, remember, we get paid a percentage on every person's orders. So we just enrolled that person. They ordered. That QV gets converted into BV. And it goes, because that person's on my left team, there's the volume. It shows up in real time. And remember, that's converted into money, which is converted into cycles, which pays you. Now, we still have another step. And this is a team cycle now, because that BV wasn't created by you. It was created by somebody else. And if they love their products, they're going to order them month after month. They're going to keep ordering them, just like when you go to the grocery store, you keep going back. You have to, right? I'm still getting QV converted into BV from somebody I enrolled 20 years ago. All right, so let's not complicate this. We just need to do the same thing with another person on the right team. I'm not going to show you the steps, because I just showed you how you pick their volume, you put in their information. So we do that with the second person, and we get them on the right team. Now you're set to start compounding your QV into cash. Compounding, remember, that gets you on the right side of the quadrant. How do we do that? Well, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So remember, the person on the right team, no QV goes unrecognized. So let's make sure we get that person's QV on the right team. Okay. Now we're set to start compounding. How do we do that? Teach your 2 members, your 2 team members that you're working with. So teach your 2 team members potential team members. That's the work of Isagenix, is finding 2 more people that believe like the 3 of you do. That's where their belief is under trial, and some people's belief just isn't there yet. No just means they KNOW. They don't know really what you're trying to share with them. So you move on to the next person until you find somebody who gets it. That's the work, right? You don't get something for nothing. You've got to put the work into it. This is about the lowest common denominator, though, to get the biggest return. Find 2 people who want better health, who want better wealth, right? Who want to own their life. Maybe that's the hypothetical question you go around asking people. Hey, what would it be like to own your life? And get their definition of it, and then share with them your definition. Right?
Yeah.
So once they share with 2 people, Lenny, now we're doing the right side of the quadrant, because those are not my 2 people. That's their 2 people. And that is the penny being doubled on the 3rd level.
Yes.
And that's what's converted into our cycle, right? So anytime we get 300 and 600 in volume, that creates a cycle. That's the 900 that I showed you right here. And that's a team cycle. That's the leverage of the right side of the quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. It's the compounding effect with the penny being doubled. It's leverage that's happening beyond your own personal efforts.
Yes.
So real quick, 5 cycles, $270 a week because we get paid every week. This resets every week. This is the week before, that's the week. So you're getting a check every week. Do you guys, we don't take that for granted, do we? I used to get paid twice a month. Here we get paid every week. It's nice getting paid every week. So 5 cycles converts the QV into BV, which is $270. If you get down to 250 cycles, here it is. Here it comes, you guys. Pay attention. 250 cycles a week is $13,500 a week, which is $702,000 a year. So if we took the penny being doubled, 2, 4, 8, 16, where do we get that 702,000 in this chart right here? Or do we have to keep extending it? When I realized that that was at level 13, I couldn't sleep. It was 3 days. I could not sleep. Carrie tells the story like, what are you doing? You're walking around. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I can't sleep. I'm thinking about how I'm going to do this. I'm getting my ducks in a row in my head. You guys, you wouldn't even finish the 13th level and you would be at 13,500 a week.
Come on.
I don't need 13,500 a week to get out of my survival mode. I just need to be right around here. Right around here is where we got the new car. Right around here was taking my kids to restaurants we had never been to, getting my kids clothes, brand new clothes, you guys. Right here, my wife got a new car. Right here, new house. I'm not a mechanic anymore in this area. Right in here, 8, 9, and 10. How many people did I talk to? I talked to a lot of people. So look at this chart here. If you do 2, we're at $6,000 at level 10 with everybody ordering the minimum. But if you told 5, you're there at level 4. Lenny, you taught me, talk to 2 people a day, 5 days a week. That'll be 10 people by the end of the week. And talking to people meant share with them the information. They're going to think about it and you're going to get back to them. That was what the definition of talking to 2 people a day was. It wasn't just giving your card, hey, go check out my website. No, you had a conversation with them. You got their interest. They're going to think about it and you're going to follow up with them. Do that with 5 people a day. At the end of the week, you've talked to 10 people.
Yeah.
At the end of the month, what is that? I don't know, 40 people?
Dave, I want to interject here because I saw something pop up while you were teaching, and it was Reed saying that he became an associate yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, it's good stat.
So go back to that screen real quick because I want that to be Reed for a second. I want Reed to see this. Reed, man, that is you, brother. And we all are, everyone's job now is to encourage you to get past whatever fear you might have and have the courage to make the call. Because one call can change it all. For anyone you're talking to, man, you got to get those people in now that you're an associate. So congratulations, first of all, for being here and for doing it and getting on Isagenix and then filling out whatever it takes to go from customer to associate, because you're about to start your engine, baby. Start your engines, man. That's what this is all about, bro. That I'm so fired up right now listening to all that, just because and if you want to go faster, you tell more people. You want to go slower? Take a break. Don't tell so many people. You want to go faster? It's like Isagenix is this beautiful vehicle, and every time you touch the gas, it goes. Take the gas off, it still coasts. You put the gas on, it goes. It's the most amazing thing, Dave. I'm so excited, man.
Yeah, cool. This last little part here, you get to decide what your pay raise is going to be.
Yes.
And I had that conversation with my tax guy. I just did my taxes for the year a couple days ago. And he's all, you have such a cool business. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm going to get back into action. Me and Lenny are going to just ignite Isagenix 2.0. And we're going to give our own selves a pay raise. How do we do that? By how many people we talk to.
That's right.
That's how we do it. And I hope you wrote it down. You're not under trial.
Yes.
Isagenix products and the comp plan are not under trial. It's the belief of the person you're sharing with. That's what's under trial. And not everybody's ready. That's just sales. Anybody who knows sales knows that it's a numbers game. And that's all it is. Don't take it personal. You can't. And I remember Don Nooner in his home, one of his 7 homes that he owned cash out of the 9, said, until you don't care what other people think, you won't go anywhere in this business. So you guys, 1 cycle a week, is that what you want? 10 cycles a week or 100 cycles a week? All you got to do is teach these steps. I'm going to have this on YouTube. It will be recorded up on YouTube today. You get paid when you give the gift away.
Oh, I love it. I love that.
And it's not easy. It takes courage, you guys. It takes courage to give the gift away. The opposite of courage is not cowardice. You're not a coward if you're not giving the gift away. It's conformity. You just conform to what everybody else is doing and you're willing to, choose your heart, and your heart is going to be living your life. Choose your heart. The courage to share with people and be rejected, or to continue to live the lifestyle you're living and the lack of fulfilled dreams, the lack of impact. I, Lenny, I could go on and on at this point. I call it bringing heaven to earth because I was experiencing hell before
Yeah,
Isogenics.
yeah,
Isogenics is literally bringing heaven to earth. We're stopping pain and suffering. And I know a lot of people resonate with that,
yeah.
helping people to eliminate their pain and suffering in their lives. You guys, thanks for joining us. Get back with the person that got you here, and they will help you get started. Let's go. Every Thursday morning and Saturday morning. Let's go.
Yes, we got this, brother.
Let's do it.